Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a creator request, which is where a band gets in contact with me and asks me to check out their music. We are having a repeat band on the channel here with Sanguine Glacialis. We checked them out a while ago, and they commented on one of the on that reaction video recently and said, "Hey, we got new music out," and I was like, "All right, let's do it." I refreshed myself a little bit on them, and yeah, this is some melodic death metal with some really interesting additions, non-metal additions to it, with a mix of clean and harsh vocals. Um, so I'm excited. I remember loving this, and I'm ready to dive into more. So we have Sanguine Glacialis's Welcome. Nice 3/4, eerie, atmospheric, violin, piano, guitars. I love the ride cymbal thing going on there. Interesting to double it and then have it. Yeah, this is really fun. Slow Hocket idea on the vocals. Such a large production. There's so many things going on too. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I love. It's like a really nice swung 3/4 there. We got a violin really pumped, coming through real strong in the background there, laying down these key chords. Bringing the intro back. Hitting the chorus. Okay. Sounds like we have a full string section harmonizing with this vocal lead. Yeah, really nice way to use this 4/4 to bring in a new idea here. Yeah, heavy use of triplets on this final vocal line too, which feels real nice because the entire song is based off of three. We've had 3/4 through a majority of the track. I think the two solos were in 4/4. But our intro and the chorus are in 3/4. And so when we get to the ending though, it shifts to 4/4, but we keep that three element in there with a lot of triplet ideas coming in the vocals. Quarter note triplets too, so it pushes real hard against the time signature, the beat that the drums are laying down. Yeah, yeah, this is completely honest, as I always am. I do think I like Kraken better, but Kraken sets a really high bar. Kraken's another one of their songs, um, and it has this beautiful waltz with an upright bass and piano, uh, and tons of vocal harmonies in it. It's right up my throat. I mean, I said that because let me pull this up real quick, or else it's gonna be real awkward. Um, one of the thumbnails here is as my hands wrapped her throat for a band called Saturnus. And I saw that thumbnail and it just injected that word. It's right up my alley. Is what I meant. Man, that's embarrassing. One of the few times I'm like, should I edit the video or do it live like I always do? Just let it be. So if you see this later, I left it in, and that's kind of awkward, I suppose, but whatever. It's right up my alley. Um, and so this is really good, right? I love melodic death metal, and I love all of the intricate elements that they inject into here, all of the oddities as well. Um, and of course, there's a violin now, which there never was, and there's a sax now, which I don't think I've listened to a song from theirs with sax. Um, so there's a lot of cool things in here. Let's just dive into this, right? So the chorus almost leans hard into traditional symphonic metal. We have lead vocals, we have harmonized vocals, which are kind of going into like a gang vocal area, in that you kind of lose the notes themselves just for the texture of multiple vocalists. But then we also have maybe a string section, maybe just a really wide single violin, because I've only heard the violin. But in this chorus, under all the layers, it feels very large, very big. So it might be a large violin. Not like really big violin, but like it's been produced to make it sound larger and wider, stuff like that. Taking up more space in the sound sphere. Or it could be doubled or tripled up, or it could be, I don't know, it could be a sample at that point. I don't think there's a violinist in the. Let me check out the personnel list. Let me see what we got here. Because the music videos I've seen prior, nobody plays violin. But this might be a featured violinist. Oh, there are featured artists here. We have Mia Lynn Gromko on saxophone and Remy Legresley on guitar solo. That's interesting because in the previous songs I've heard from them, I'm pretty sure the guitarist for the band does the solos. So that's interesting that they featured a guitarist here for the solo. We have a vocalist, keyboardist, and violin. That's very cool. Maud Thimberge, I hope I said that right. She's never played violin in any of the other music videos I've seen, so it's really cool that she's incorporating that, whether it's always been a skill of hers or she picked it up to further add more elements to her music. We have Jonathan Fontaine doing guitar and backing vocals, Alexandra Lapine on guitar and backing vocals, Mark Gervais on bass and backing vocals, Jeremy Racine on drums and backing vocals. So that group vocal, gang vocal thing going on in the chorus seems that they got everybody in the band in on it, and that's very cool. I'm a huge fan of everybody in the band doing vocals. It makes it so much easier to do it live without having to worry about backing tracks or anything. But we only have one violinist, so I still don't have a definitive answer about what's going on there. Either way, it sounds production though. They're either amplifying the violin or they're using a sample to bring a full string section in. but we do have strings harmonizing, or actually I think playing the exact same line, so it'd be texture harmonizing, texture layering on this. So we have the lead vocal, we have the gang vocal, and we have the violin strings all doing the exact same thing, and it just gives it all this width and power and layers, so many textures intermingling on that. And it's just a very big sound. You know, we have the drums in there, they change it up. We get two sections of um, pretty standard rock style drumming, and then we get a section of blast beats, and then we get a section of something a little more laid back with a bit of syncopation to the cymbal work. So there's a bit of variety going on in the drums, which help out. The guitars are what are the guitars doing at this point? Do I remember? There's so many layers. The bass was going off though. I remember that. The bass had a pretty sick line here. But the chorus is just, like I had mentioned, uh, leaning more into symphonic metal, where you have your metal band doing the metal stuff, being loud and aggressive, and then you have your symphonic elements, strings, and a quasi choir, the gang vocals, here doubling and tripling up on the lead vocal line. This is something we see in a lot of symphonic metal. And I was really intrigued to hear the song start out like this because it's not typically what I associate with the band, but it's very cool to see them further exploring other styles, incorporating it into their style. We move from this into the verse, and this thing is just bonkers. We have the vocal Hocket, if we can call it that. It's a bit slower. It might be better to call them response, but honestly, the two vocal lines, the group and the harshes, have separate sentences, and they're both saying things. They're just interjecting and interrupting each other, which is a very cool concept. But it's very easy to hear it all unified as a single idea, just kind of jumping back and forth between these timbres, and that's why I say, it feels like a Hocket to me, um, despite its slower movement. And the Hocket is just something we don't see too often in metal music, so I'm really happy to see that here. The guitars are just going wild, drums are going wild. This is definitely the death metal section. This is the foundation of their sound, and they're going into it real hard here. Um, we have this really cool idea. We're still in 3/4, I think, and we have an emphasis on beat 1. And if you listen to the guitar off to the right, you can actually hear the landing of key notes that are really showcasing the progression, the chord progression. You might have other notes in between, but the key ones, the ones that are accented, are the ones that are going to let you know where we are in the chord progression. And so we get a lot of emotional and atmospheric information out of beat 1 of each of these bars, but it's also auditory overload. There's so many things going on that if you don't pick it up, that's perfectly fine, because I think the key aspect of this section um, is the overwhelming element. It's all the layers. It's the series of vocals. It's everything about it is just intense and overloading, and I kind of picked up some of that in the lyrics when I was listening to them. We go back to the chorus, we do it again, we go back to a verse, we do a different verse, but for the most part the same deal. And then we have an abrupt cut to the sax solo. And I really like this because the drums picked up this really light jazz drumming swing thing going on. They massively reduced the intensity on their hits, and we did have a little bit of a swing feel going on. And swing is when you give unequal weighting to eighth notes, or to any note, but eighth notes is usually how it's denotated in sheet music. So if straight eighths is bop 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 bop, it's rigid, right? Swing eighths have syncopation to them, where one is longer than another, has more weight. Ba ba da 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 ba da. It has that swinginess to it, the syncopation. So we get a little bit of the a swung feeling in here. And then, like I said, the drummer also backs off on the intensity quite a bit. Now that I think about it, might have been hearing some cross sticking on the snare rather than hitting the drum head itself. I'd have to go back and double check that, but generally, though, the drums back off on intensity. We get some rhythmic syncopation in here, and we get some chords underneath and the sax solo. Really enjoyable solo, great flow, great momentum, great storytelling. It's kind of has moments of push and pull, moments to allow the solo to breathe, and moments to push forward through it. Just pretty standard aerophone soloing right here. Um, but with a great idea of how to tell a story. It kept me interested, definitely from start to finish. Then we had a guitar solo. The intensity of the song ramps up a little bit. We move over into a rock feel. We get the guitar solo on top of it. A bit distinct from the aerophone solo since guitars don't have to breathe. Well, the guitarist does, but you don't have to use your air to play the instrument. So we get some more shreds, some more consistency, less breaks in the solo, and pretty standard for a guitar solo. Um, I like this bit. I do. I'm hoping the lyrics lean a little bit into why it exists, though, because it feels so far divorced from everything else. In isolation, beautiful. Love every bit of it. In execution, yeah, I don't know what to make of it. It's such an abrupt shift, and I'm sure the abrupt shift is sort of their style. A lot of their music tends to have it. Um, but I hope it kind of has a thematic purpose for it. Maybe I mean, it doesn't have to. It just that helps me wrap my mind around it. I'm just not a big fan of going from one idea to the next. So that's a personal thing. So harshly. We were doing this, now we're doing this. And deal with it, listener. um, but the thing is that I really enjoy the solo section. Both of the solos work really well. I love the shift towards the swing and the lighter drumming, just the overall more light-hearted vibes and atmosphere. So I can't be too critical of it, because it is such a good section. Even if in the song it's a bit abruptly led into. But then we sort of find our way back to the chorus again. And we go back into a final verse, and here we move into our outro, which I thought was genius. I already talked about this at the beginning of this analysis about how we shifted the 4/4 here, but we retain the triplet feel that we have, the three bass that we've used throughout many of the sections in the track. And it's just such a great way to continue to tie this section to most of the stuff that's come before it, despite it moving into a very different direction where we have the harsh vocals, but they are not interrupted by gang vocals and they are just consistently delivering words, and the music is highly aggressive. It's matching a lot of the vibes from the verse, but with more direction. It's less chaotic, but keeping the heaviness. It's a fantastic way to wrap the song up because it kind of brings everything together. It brings the cohesiveness of the chorus and the solos together with the aggressiveness and the death metal element of our verse, and finds a nice middle ground between the two. Which a middle ground between the two, there's a lot of duality throughout here, isn't there? We have the dual vocal lines in the verse. We have the duality between the cleanliness and cohesion of our chorus and the chaos and frenetic elements of the verse. Did I say that backwards? The chorus is clean and organized. The verse is chaotic. Um, and then we also have the clean vocals, the operatic vocals versus the harsh vocals. Um, Yeah, there's a lot of elements of opposite ends of a spectrum on this. Of course, we can't ignore the fact that we have the metal, whether it's symphonic or death, versus the the jazzy bridge that we have, and the sharp, change in direction there as we move from one to the other without much of a unifying element. Yeah, it's just a lot of elements of duality throughout this one. I said element too many times and it sounds weird now. Let's hit some lyrics. There's actually another duality that I completely forgot about, which is the group vocals versus the harsh vocals in the verse. There is this idea of the group versus the individual here, where the group says stuff like, stay with us, we're here for you, we love you, don't leave us, those kind of things. And while they're saying that, our lead vocalist, our main character, I guess you could say, is saying, where am I? What am I doing here? What is this place? Who are you? I don't know you. Let me leave. I'm not going to stay here anymore. Um, this element of trying to escape oppressors of some sort, trying to escape from a place that you don't understand, and the people there trying to keep you there. And so we have an us versus them idea baked into that as well. That's represented very well in that vocal Hocket. Now, I'm probably missing some of the metaphorical elements here, as I typically do. I got a pretty good read on this on a surface level, but I'm not sure exactly what it alludes to on probably a more figurative one. Um, it's very clear, though. The chorus says, welcome to our world, the place to wreck what's left of you. Don't go too far. We've planned a thing just for you. So we have somebody arriving here at this place, and it's designed to be destructive towards them, and they have plans to destroy them. And they say, don't go too far because we got big plans for you. And this is juxtaposed with our main character stating, where am I? How did I get here? What is this place? Having all these questions because they literally just arrived and are being presented with the welcoming party, so to speak. And by the end of it, they're saying, okay, you know what? I don't care what this is. I don't know if this place even exists, but I got to get out of here. We do have one section in the middle. I forgot about this. It comes right before, right after the solos, either one of those. It's French. It translates to escape reality, to wrap oneself in fictitious echoes fabricated in vain, which is deeply vague. It sounds very profound, but I'm not entirely sure what it's going for. Unless it's saying that our character created this world to escape reality. They made this place. That's it says it was fabricated, uh, and it is fictitious echoes. It's fake elements that are based off of a real one, because that's what an echo is, right? It's not a real voice. It's a phantom of a voice, so to speak. And it says it was created in vain, though. Or maybe the idea to wrap oneself in these echoes was an action done in vain. It didn't work. And maybe that's what this is about then. I'm talking, I'm working my way through it. I'm getting close to something, I think. Um, so they retreated from reality into a. Is this like a place their mind created? Um, but it turned out to be negative. They tried to escape reality and ended up in a place that tried to destroy them. It says this is a place to wreck what's left of you. And then so we come down to the outro, which I think it's the most substantial section of the track. The verses are they all tell the same story for the most part. Especially the first two verses, where many of the lyrics from the harsh vocals is literally baked down to what's going on. The third verse says, I'm not staying here." So there's very little storytelling in there. I don't know what's going on. I'm leaving. That's what the verses say, and the chorus tells us the general gist of what this place is, which is it's a destructive realm. So there's not a lot of storytelling going on in there. But when we get to the ending, we find something with a ton of substance. It says, shatter the construct you created to ambush your mind. So once again, we're going back to the idea of a created reality, a fabricated world. Dividing your residual soundness, a system framing your lucidity in an elusive composite. Rupture the delicate fabric composing your judgment before it dominates you wholly. There's still a narrow window for you to escape. Don't hesitate or you will drown. So I'm not 100% sure what this is saying, or I guess what I'm saying is I don't know what this is alluding to figuratively, metaphorically. What is the dream world, the mental world that they've crafted? What is this a metaphor for? But it is saying that you need to shatter this. You need to get rid of it, destroy it. It's not helping you, and you need to return to reality, possibly based on what we had in the bridge about escaping reality to this place. So it's not healthy, and you need to escape, and you don't have. It says you have a narrow window for escape, and if you hesitate, you'll drown. Which seems to say that reconnecting with reality is it's a time-based thing, and you're running out of time. So again, I'm missing the metaphorical context. I don't know what specifically this is speaking about, but I get the general gist of what it is, and as usual, it's a surface level read. I'm a musician. I'm a composer. I'm not a poet. I'm not a poetic analyzer. Though I am getting better, I will say it's still not my it's still not my forte. Anyways, this was a blast. I really enjoyed this. Looking forward to the album, as it states. Where was this? How did I lose this already? This is the first single off their third album, Maladaptive Daydreaming, and it's the first. It's their latest release since 2018. So that's exciting. It's been 5 years. We're gonna get a new album out. I'm looking forward to it. As soon as a date drops for the album release, it's going on my calendar. I'll be checking it out day one for sure. But those are just my thoughts on Sanguine Glacialis' Welcome. What did you think? Did you enjoy it? Was there anything that stood out to you that maybe I didn't touch on? Things I said you want to expand on? If you're from the band, I had a couple of questions in here. If you want to answer any of them. If you don't, that's fine too. But I'm a curious dude. I'm only talking about what I'm hearing, and I know that I can't hear everything. So there's always some aspects to get filled in on. Normally, I'd post my links above in the description box, but instead, as usual, I'm going to post the bands. You can find their streaming platforms, their websites, their social medias. Make sure you go show them love if you enjoyed this. Stream their music, buy some merch, like, thumbs up, whatever you can for their stuff. Subscribe to their channels and whatnot. And then, of course, like, subscribe, and ring my bell as well. Greatly appreciated. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow. Album review. Sunday, we got our live stream. Monday, we'll be back with next week's theme. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.